When we were kids, life was simple, wasn't it? I mean, the biggest struggles we had were who will I play with on the playground and will I have white milk or chocolate milk with my lunch? And because life was simple, our prayers, they were simple too. Because, well, everything was simple. Even our view of God was simple. The problem is this: as we get older in life, life doesn't get more simple. In fact, quite the opposite is true. Life gets complicated. But for whatever reason, while life gets more complicated, our view of God, it stays simple. Sometimes too simple for our adult problems, and certainly too simple for many of our grown-up prayers. So today, we're going to wonder, how do we discover a grown-up God and consequently a grown-up faith? In order to pray grown-up prayers, we need a version of God that is grown-up. Today I want to wonder with you, how do I discover a grown-up version of God? I want to suggest to you today, to do so, we have to follow Jesus. We've got to watch Jesus, observe what he really did rather than what we learned in Sunday school. We've got to watch what he values. But there's a problem. I want to warn you. I want to warn you that when we do this, we can't help but see some tensions between our understanding of God, our lives, our values, our understandings, and who this God really is. It's a dangerous thing, you see, following Jesus, because if we really do it, it forces us to give up some things, to change, to give up some assumptions maybe you've held your entire life. And that's difficult to do, is it not? Because we don't want to change. Be honest, we hate change. This is why people in the first century, disciples included, they resisted Jesus. None of us likes to change because it feels like we're losing something. We're losing control. It forces us to unlearn and relearn some things. Well, Jesus, in the Bible, he was on his final leg to Jerusalem, and he passes by Jericho. There's a blind man sitting by the road, and he's begging. The blind man asks the crowd, he heard this commotion, what's going on? The crowd said, Jesus is coming. So the man, get this, he shouts at Jesus, Jesus, help me. He gets louder and louder again and again. He begs Jesus, help me. Now everyone in the crowd in Jericho was embarrassed of this man, and they try and shut him up. They try and keep him quiet. But guess what Jesus does? Jesus stopped. He was on his most important trip. He was heading to the pinnacle of his ministry, to Jerusalem and the cross, but he stopped. He stopped. It's probably wise advice for those of us who are looking for a grown-up version of God. Jesus stopped, and Jesus asked the man, what do you want me to do for you? An interesting question. What do you want me to do for you? And listen to how the man responds. Listen to what he says. The blind man said, Lord, I want to see. Lord, I just want to see. Let me ask you this. Do you want to see? Do you really want to see Jesus? Do you really want to see what you can't see? Even it could create some tensions in your life. It could force you to have to consider changing. Jesus says, receive your sight. Your faith has made you well. And immediately this blind man, he followed Jesus. Immediately he got up and followed Jesus. His prayer was, Lord, I want to see. It's a scary prayer, because it means we may have to apologize for some things. We may have gotten some things wrong. We may have to admit that we've been short-sighted. Friends, the purpose of prayer isn't to move God, but it's to move us. It's not to change God. It's actually to change us. Lord, I want to see. You want a grown-up version of God that stands up to your grown-up prayers? We'll start praying this. Lord, I just want to see.